Hello, good evening. Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen James, the channel that brings you all your latest news, guys. We are live here. Sunday night is the final word. I've got to say, guys, it was an interesting game today. We are going to talk, obviously, about the Rangers Club Bruges game. We are going to mention that. We are going to talk, obviously, about that. We're going to reflect a little bit back on the week that was. We're going to talk all things Rangers tonight. Yeah, I agree. Singing the blues. Before we go through some of your comments that have come in already on the pod, I've got to say I do agree. Booing at a friendly game is a bit stupid, really. I don't get the whole booing in a friendly game. It's a friendly, for God's sake, Crazy. It was a friendly game. And, look, as David Edgar himself said earlier, it's purely about fitness. It's about putting the team together. It's about starting to construct a team. At the end of the day, it's not about the result. It never was about the result. And, I think you've got to kind of take into account that this is a new Rangers team, that this is a new manager trying to put across a new style, a new way of playing. And I think, to boo at half time was absolutely bloody ridiculous. And I think, we've got fans coming out, and talking about how Rangers weren't great today. They were shit, blah, blah, blah. Guys, it's the first game. It's a pre-season friendly, for goodness sake. Come on. Get your head a wobble. Get your head a wobble. Well, Celtic got that Nygren for 1.7 million. Looks a bargain. Why are we not shopping in the Scandinavian gold mine? Point there. Way some folk are going on today. I thought it was a cup final, lol. Yeah, exactly, mate. It was a bloody friendly. Yeah, the second half was better. I'm here, Alan. Yes, here. I've just been busy finishing a few things off. Proper King and Dowell were poor. They were. Lots of great comments, guys. We will obviously go through your comments. Ridvan Proper, why we never got Penrice is beyond me. Paul McCorrick, the players will be lethargic. Hard 2 weeks training. It was about seeing the players digging deep. You're right, buddy. Russ... Russell Martin himself said the players will be playing under heavy fatigue today. He said that, they've had a tough week in training. Of course they would. I hope Butland can recover his form, but please God, we cannot start a season and a Champions League campaign with that non-league goalkeeper, Kelly. Mate, I've got to say, Liam Kelly is shit. He is absolutely awful. Genuinely bad. That first goal, that save, where he just kind of pushes it out back in front of him was piss poor. It really was. Look, Liam Kelly is a good backup. That's what Liam Kelly is. He's a backup. He's a backup goalkeeper. He's not a starting goalkeeper. At the end of the day, he's piss poor. He is piss poor. Anyway, look at that. Look, it's been a fascinating week in the world of Rangers. We've obviously made signings. We've added to our signings. We now have 5 new players at the club. Nero says our supporters are embarrassing at times. They really are. But yeah, booing. Yeah, definitely booing a half-time of a friendly is embarrassing, mate. I'll give you that, Nero 3979. It is very, very embarrassing. It's a friendly. Let's get that in perspective. It's a friendly. It's a pre-season friendly. I mean, fine. If we'd been 2-0 down to Motherwell, first game of the season, then boo away. Boo away. But it's not, is it? It's a pre-season friendly against Club Bruges or Club Brugge, however you want to pronounce it. So, yeah, I agree on that one. Blue Nose John, welcome, buddy. Says we need better goalkeepers if you want to win the league. I agree, mate, but I don't think the goalkeepers are even on the radar for new signings. I really don't, mate. I really don't. Evening, Owen, buddy. Evening, Ross. How you doing? Right, look, I mean, let's reflect, shall we? It's been a pretty good week for Rangers. There's some interesting signings coming through the door. Obviously, Joe Rothwell, Emmanuel Fernandez sign. Who's the winger, Crystal Palace? Oh, the one we've been linked with. Yeah, Ricky Asai or some Raka. Yeah, I don't really know a lot about him. It's a bloody pre-season friendly, mate. Yeah, absolutely. Look, let's reflect. It's been a good week. We'll get to the game in a minute, guys. We will get to the game, so please obviously hang in there. We are going to get to the game. But yeah, look, we've signed Joe Rothwell, we've signed Manny Fernandez, we've signed Thelo Asgard. Now, obviously, only Manny Fernandez and Max Aarons featured today of the new signings. It was Thelo Asgard, Lyle Cameron, and Joe Rothwell. It was a bit too soon for them. A bit too early for them. They all appeared at half time. They all appeared during the game. So, they were there. They were watching. It was nice to see them, even though they did have to wear that bloody awful training gear. I don't know if any of you have seen... I suppose you all have seen it by now. I'd love to get your thoughts. That training gear that's been brought out, it seriously looks like someone's let a I don't know, let a primary school class design them. It really is shite. I mean, the T-shirt seriously looks like someone's gone to a bunch of 10 and 11-year-olds. Here's an Umbro T-shirt. Make it into a Rangers T-shirt. And they've just gone, stick a badge on it. Stick a badge on it. That's the way to do it. And that's what they've done. It is. I mean, it seriously looks like the cheap shit you get down the market, doesn't it? You know, or when you go to a car boot sale and people are selling fake Rangers merchandise. That's what it looks like. It looks absolute garbage. It really does. And, you know, can I just get one thing clear, right, guys? Can I get one thing clear? I bought one of my shirts from Castor, from the Castor app, okay? Because Castor own Umbro. Castor, Umbro, same thing, okay? Umbro shirts are made by Castor. Castor own Umbro, therefore sell Umbro gear because Castor own them. So can we just get this clear that Umbro is Castor? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. If the gear didn't have a Rangers badge on, it would cost a $5, lol. It would, mate. It does look shit, doesn't it? What have we got? It's a friendly. Fuck's sake, we know who's not wanted, and let's have some faith in the scouting system and the professionals. Good point. Mark Dowie says offer Ross King, McCausland plus $3 million for Lennon Miller. Motherwell, he's not going to get abroad with Celtic. We'll probably get him pre-contract in January. Fernandez looks solid enough. Let's see him be the hammer throwers. Good point, Stuart. Do you think RM for giving the academy a chance? We're going to get to that obviously because I was mega impressed with the with Finley Curtis today. Dowell proper need to go. Can't watch them another season. Yeah, absolutely same way I can't watch Dessers another season. Would rather have kept McGregor as head keeper coach. Grant, I get that, mate. I understand he's a Rangers man, but Sal Bibbo is a good coach, mate. Honestly, he'll help the goalkeepers and he'll bring them on. The third kit is good, yes, Coop. I haven't got it yet. It's on my list. Still think we need a new goalie. Yeah, look, I'll say this again. I don't think goalie's even on the list, mate. I really don't. I don't think he's on the list. But, look, it's been a good week, all in all. It really has been a good week. We've got, obviously, some new signings in. There's still active links out there. And it was interesting, wasn't it, that post-match, bit of a weird way to go about it, but we'll talk about this. Russell Martin, post-match, was excellent in what he said. And he came out and said that the squad next week will look very different. But they're going to St George's Park, obviously, for the training camp near Burton. And he talked about the fact that, it's going to be very different. The squad's going to be very different. And he talked about the fact that there's going to be more new arrivals and there'll be one or two going out. So I'm really fascinated to see who is coming in and who is going out. Will be absolutely fascinating for me. I do think that, there's a number of players today who prove they have no future at Rangers, that really genuinely show that they are very average. Well, not even average. They're bang average footballers, and really don't. They really have zero future at this football club. Really zero future at this football club. Exactly, Alan Gemmell. We need to start getting behind them. Of course, I'd love to see us win every game, but it's purely for fitness, for fuck's sake. We need time to get Russell Martin's style across and get the players going. Good point. Yeah, absolutely, buddy. 100% agree with you on that one. It's going to take time. Look, we've gone through, since Steven Gerrard left, we've gone through Gio Van Bronckhorst, Michael Beale, Philippe Clement, Barry Ferguson to some degree as well. And we've gone through a whole series of managers, and we've just, it's just not getting any better, is it? So we've got to give them time. We've got to give them time, and we've got to let Martin get his style across. And look, if it gets to Christmas and we're 10 points behind Celtic, we've lost to them twice, then fine, get on Russell Martin's back. Certainly slag him off, give him criticism, call him out, all that sort of stuff, because that's unacceptable. But this moment in time, it's just ridiculous. Guys, why didn't we sign Penrice from Hearts? I agree. Mate, Paul Robertson, I would absolutely love it if Dessers was one of the two that went out next week. I really would love to see Cyril Dessers on the plane somewhere else. In fact, if he wants driving, I'll take him and I won't charge him petrol. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, the squad's going to look different. That Martin said as much. He's talked about the fact there's going to be more arrivals. He's talked about the fact there's going to be players leaving. So I do think that there will be players obviously in next week. Now, the active links people have seen now. David Edgar on Heart and Hand earlier said he expects the Nasser Dajiga deal to go through next week. So I think we're going to see at least another centre-back arrive, which we'll talk about in a moment. And I think we will see also, some other players, other positions addressed. You look at the active links at the moment. There's Wesley Patate, which I think is unrealistic. Dor Turgeman, which is slightly more realistic. Connor Cody, Owen Beck. I think these are all realistic links. These are all active links that are out there at the moment. Mark Dowie says, what's the latest on Owen Beck left back loan deal? At the moment, not much. I mean, obviously, he signed a new contract with Liverpool, so I think it's unlikely Liverpool sell him. I think they'll send him out on loan again. Liverpool do have some very good left backs at the club. They've got obviously Milos Kerkez, who they paid 40-odd million for. They've got Kostas Tsimikas. They've got Andy Robertson. Absolutely. Martin said that there will be another behind closed doors games at the training camp. Very true, and I'm sure we'll all hear about it indirectly. But, the squad's going to change over the next week. He said that as much. There will be further players in. Hopefully there'll be players out. There needs to be players out because there's a lot of dead wood in that team. I mean, let's have a little look, shall we? These are the two teams. This is effectively the starting lineup and the team. We should put in a cheeky low bid for Vashlav. I think he's going to Fenerbahce or Besiktas or some Besiktas, I think it is. Airwolf says Party Popper needs to go. Don't think Twente would touch him. I mean, let's have a little look at the team, shall we? So the first half team was Kelly in goal, Aarons, Proper, King, Hiefte, Barron, Dowell, Raskan, Cortez, Curtis and Danilo. Right, let's have a little look. So that starting 11, I've got to say I was a little surprised at a couple of the people who started today. But let's take what Russell Martin said. That he would rotate the team, that he'd bring players in, he'd change players over. Of course, that's fine. That's fine. But not to read anything into it in terms of the Champions League qualifiers. Guys, we need Dessers for Champions League quality. Is Benfica one of the teams we can get second qualifier? Will Proper leave? We need to sign Cody. Mark, Dessers won't start. I'm telling you now, Dessers will not start. He is not a player that fits Russell Martin's system. He's not a Russell Martin player. I'm sorry, but Dessers will not start. He doesn't fit Russell Martin's system. So the team that they started with today, like I said, we've been told don't read too much into it, don't get too involved with it. It's not going to be the Panathinaikos team. You forget as well, there was no Lyle Cameron today, there was no Othello Asgard, there was no Joe Rothwell. So I think realistically, you're going to see Asgard, you're going to see Rothwell at least in that starting lineup. I honestly think that is a strong possibility. 100%. But, you look at that starting 11 and there was a lot of weak links in that starting 11. It was nice to see, obviously, Max Aarons out, getting his first run out. It was nice to see, see Connor Barron out there. Nice to see Nicholas Raskan out there. Nice to see Oscar Cortez, Curtis and Danilo all out there. I thought Danilo did all right today, actually. I thought he linked the play nicely. Some nice little touches. Had that shot that was tipped wide. I thought Danilo did okay. Really did. George says, if no Dessers, then who? Hamza, if he's still here, mate. Danilo. All players who do fit Martin's system better than Cyril the Donkey Dessers. Marky McClellan says, good evening, troops. Is Hamza staying? Says Harvey Roland. We're going to talk Hamza and Dessers in a minute. Well, shortly in this podcast. So please hang on for the Hamza and Dessers talk. There is some Hamza and Dessers talk later, so we will talk that through. Hope Dio gets used to the physical game. Maybe he played some players to move them on. Good point. Anyone who's making the deals behind the club's back should never wear the shirt again. Right, so let's have a little look. So, that team, I've got to say today, I thought, you look at the centre-backs that we played today. First half, we had Proper and King. Second half, we had King and Tavernier at centre-back. There's no wonder that we are looking at signing multiple centre-backs. John Souttar's obviously out injured. He hopefully will be back for the Panathinaikos game, but there's no wonder that we're looking at Connor Cody, that we're looking at Nasser Dajiga, who should come in next week. It's no wonder that we've signed Emmanuel Fernandez, because I'm sorry, those four centre-backs are absolutely dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. Absolutely awful. I mean, Robin Proper today was just a joke. I mean, he was just an absolute joke. He looked unbelievably bad. King, for me, look, I love the lad. I'd love Leon King to succeed at Rangers, but again, I don't think he did well today. I thought he was poor today. He really did blow his opportunity today, and he was off the pace. He was out of position. He gave the ball away too cheaply. I don't think Leon King's realistically got a future at the club. Kieran Dowell was dreadful. I mean, can anyone tell me what Kieran Dowell did or what Kieran Dowell is? Because I'll tell you something. Don't think so. I thought Cortez put in a shift, did a decent job to say that he's just come back from injury, did okay today. I thought, like I said, I thought Danilo did well today as well. But that first, the player that second half, I think you look at the second half team was Aarons, King, Tavernier, Hiefte, Rice, Diamande, Bayrami, Curtis, Cortez and Danilo. So he stuck with the front three, which was interesting. Yeah, careful saying jigger when you're drunk. Absolutely. But it was nice to see the young lads get a game. It was nice to see some of those young lads come on. Josh Gentle's obviously got a game as well, which was nice. But Finlay Curtis for me was the man of the match. He was by far the best player on the park, and Finlay Curtis is on my list for tonight to talk about. We'll get to your comments in a minute, guys. Don't worry. But I thought second half, I thought Nadim Bayrami actually played quite well. Nadim Bayrami actually looked a player today. Could it be that with a proper coach and with a proper coaching system and with a shape and a formation and a way of playing that's actually a proper way of playing, could he actually be a player? Yeah, Dio did well today as well when he came on, got his goal obviously as well. I thought Dio did well. I thought, the second half team was a lot better than the first half team. Don't get me wrong, but I think there's still players in that second half team that you probably wouldn't want to see for the rest of the season. So, at the end of the day, like I said, I mean, if you realistically, Proper, King, Dowell, all got to go. Realistically, have all got to go. The other player, obviously, that's been mentioned today that will be leaving the club this summer is Clinton Nsiala. Now, that could be on loan or that could be on a permanent basis. So that's the big thing. So it could be that Nsiala goes out. We don't know whether it's on loan or whether it's permanent, but Russell Martin did say that Nsiala will leave the club this summer because he needs to play football and he won't get football. Stephen Clegg says, your mate Tav played well. Mate, if he's our centre-back in the Panathinaikos game, we get absolutely fucking smashed. Guarantee it. And it's no reason. I mean, if they honestly thought Tav could be a starting centre-back, why are they trying to buy Connor Cody, bring in Jigger, bring in Fernandez? It ain't happening, mate. It ain't happening. It is only on loan. Paul, it's been mentioned in a couple of sources this evening that it could actually be a permanent one. It really could. Good point there by Christian. Says playing Bayrami in the right position helped. I mean, I think that helps with a lot of players. If you actually play them in their right position and not on the left wing, you get better out of them, don't you? You really do. I want to talk Finlay Curtis, the lad on the screen. I thought Finlay Curtis was absolutely fantastic today. Absolutely fantastic. He was lively. He got up and down the wing well. He supported the defence well. He played well. He attacked well. He was not afraid to have a go, have a shot. This is a lad who is a natural goal scorer. He will put the ball in the back of the net, And honestly, I'm not. I know. Look, yeah, you can get carried away with a pre-season friendly. Of course you can. But Club Bruges, Club Brugge, whatever you want to call them, are no mugs. They're a Champions League team. There's some good players in that team, and they look good in the first half. Finlay Curtis looked really good against them, and honestly think that Finlay Curtis has a future in this team. He really does. I mean, he took his goal absolutely superbly. Beautiful ball in from Bayrami. Big credit to Bayrami. Plays the ball into Curtis. Curtis slots the ball in the back of the net. I thought it was a superb finish. I thought it was a superb performance. And I've got to be honest with you. As Mays makes the point, Finlay Curtis appreciates what it means to play for Rangers. 100%, mate. He's come through the academy. He's come through the youth system. Curtis was the only player who played the full 90, says Paul McCoracle. Yeah, you're right, mate. He was man of the match for me. He was absolutely brilliant today. And I'm genuinely hoping that this lad now, gets a chance, in the first team. really hope he gets a chance. Hope he continues to take his opportunities. In pre-season, and continues to prove to Russell Martin and the coaching staff that he is, well worth it. That he is well worth a spot in the team. Like I said, I like the lad. I really do. I thought he played really well. And look, you go back across some of the videos. I've been a big advocate for Finlay Curtis about sticking him in, about giving him a game. You're right, Nicolas. He looked good on both wings. He's a natural player. He can play anywhere in that front three. So he can play right wing, he can play left wing, he can play centre forward. He can play in any of those three positions. So for me, Finlay Curtis was brilliant today. I mean, he got an 8 out of 10 in a lot of places for his performance. But, Curtis today, I think, really showed that this is a young lad who can come into this Rangers team and have a big impact this season. And I really hope that he is given the opportunity to go and play, is given the opportunity to impress. Because, like I said, he didn't let himself down at all today. He really didn't. He really didn't. Well, we've got comments here. We've got some comments here. Nero says, young Curtis was brilliant. I thought he got a great engine too. Never stops running, and what a finish that was. Spot on, mate. Airwolf says, Curtis may save us a few bob. Correct. Danilo will be better with quality around him, says Sid. Sid says, King and Proper were rubbish. Dow was rubbish. I agree on those points. Paul Morris, Danilo, Cortez loaned them out on big wages. Did Robbie Fraser get a run out? No, he didn't. But, mate, they will not... Look, Mark, they're not going to loan out Danilo or Cortez, mate. They're going to play this season. Look, they're not going to be loaned out. There's not a chance. Not a chance. Cortez looked exciting, says Reese. I thought Cortez did well today. Did very well today. Young lad with more experienced attackers could do great things, says Christian. It was brilliant for Finlay to get the full game. Absolutely. And I thought he did really, really spot. He was spot on today. John Lammy says the jersey looks way heavy for Dow. Mate, like I said a few moments ago, can anyone tell me what is Kieran Dow? Because he's not a footballer. Is he a competition winner? I don't know. Paul Morris says, what about Barron and getting the armband instead of Raskin? It was a shock. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I did not expect that. I genuinely didn't expect that. I mean, you look at that team, that first half team, and Connor Barron captains the side. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't know why it was Connor Barron. I'd love it for someone to ask Russell Martin, why did you pick Connor Barron as captain? I think that's an interesting one. That is a really, really, really big, interesting one. Absolutely is a massive, interesting one. Give Kieran Dow the Coventry, and I'd love to, mate. I'd love to, Christian. What was the shock in that? Shocking what, Nicolas? One thing that came from it was you can see how we want to play. Yeah, I mean, that's right, Paul. You can see the way we want to play football. You're seeing the startings of it. And as I said on Barron has been captain before, true. But like I said, I would love to know why him over Raskan, over over him, for example. I don't know. I mean, Liam Kelly captained Motherwell, didn't he? Watching Kieran Dow play football, it's like art. YouTube, Birmingham City Football Club, lol. Training. Best answers on a postcard for what Kieran Dow is. I mean, mate, I'd love to know what Kieran Dow is, because he ain't a footballer. I'll tell you that for free. He really isn't. But that lineup was interesting, shall we say? It was very, very interesting. I'd love someone to ask Russell Martin, why was Connor Barron captain? I'm nothing against Connor. I like Connor. I think he's a cracking wee player. But I didn't expect him to be captain today. I really didn't. But just getting back to Finlay Curtis and finishing on the Finlay Curtis discussion, we've all, I think, been crying out for a long, long time to let the kids come through, to let the young players develop, to let the young players get first team minutes. And today we saw Finlay Curtis come in. We saw him take advantage. We saw him play well. I'm just hoping that he continues to get those opportunities. Now, Russell Martin has said that he's been impressed with some of the young players. So hopefully, the players that got on today will get another chance, because Finlay Curtis today, that goal, the way he took that goal was absolutely excellent. That's class. That is class. And the lad quite clearly has composure. He has class. He has talent. And he's, like I said, as I think May said, he will appreciate playing for Rangers. He is someone who's come through our system. He's a Rangers man. He loves the club. Get him in there. Get him in there for definite. Barron reminds me of Neil Lennon when he played for Celtic. Please don't say that. Sending someone to Coventry has a different meaning in English, yeah, it means ignoring them. I think it was because Raskin had only had 5 sessions. He has only had a limited time since coming back from international duty. In the famous words of Kevin Bridges, please, let's avoid that rabid Tim Kevin Bridges, shall we? The guy that makes the tea for the guy that makes the coffee. Yeah. Barron is a quality player. This season we will see the best of him, better player. Yeah, I like Connor Barron, Nicholas. I think he's a good footballer. I liked him last season, and if you think back to the start of the season, a lot of us were actually saying that Barron was the only player that was trying, the only player that was putting any effort in. So yeah, I thought he did really, really well. Gary Howden, welcome Gary from Miami. King and Proper should never wear the Rangers jersey ever again. Absolutely woeful, the pair of them. I do think that, to be honest with you, that he will be Proper one of the ones on the way out in this next week or so. I think that will happen. Why did we not swap Dow for Asgard? Because I don't think Dow would want to go to Luton, mate. I mean, Luton's a bit of a horrible place and they're in League One, so I can't see that happening. Kieran Dowell will think that he's got a chance of playing in the Championship at very least, so I don't think he would have agreed to that move, mate, if I'm being honest with you. I don't want a player who thinks his future is elsewhere, says Nicholas. Connor Barron, good work rate, doesn't score goals. True, but that was in a poor team. Yeah, I mean, you can also eat corn dogs, Janet. So, yeah, okay. Random food conversation going on here. We'll get into the should pineapple be on pizza debate next. But yeah, Finlay Curtis today impressed for me. Did very, very well. It was nice to see Oscar Cortez back. I thought he did a good job for Rangers today. I thought, he got up and down the wings. It was good to see him play and actually last, not get injured. Hopefully Cortez now can settle back in, can get some game time under his belt, can play some football, can do well. Like I said, Cortez is quite clearly a very good footballer. He's got the touch, he's got the skills, he's got the abilities, he's got the talent. We saw when he was with Colombia in the under-23s, and I think it was under-23s, under-21s, in that World Youth Championship. He was absolutely brilliant. He really was. But, you've got to hope that Cortez comes. I mean, I'd be happy going into that Panathinaikos game if we don't bring in a winger between now and 22nd, with Curtis on one wing and Cortez on the other wing. I think Curtis could play. I think Curtis could do a job for us in the Champions League. I think Curtis could do a job for us in the Premier League, Scottish Premier League. I like him. Yeah, it was Paul. Great to hear Bomber Brown back on RTV. I must say I didn't get to watch the game live. I got to watch it once I got home from work after what was an absolutely awful day today. Absolute garbage day today it was at work. Just genuinely dreadful. It got a lot worse. Anyway, yeah. So look, overall today, I think if you booed the team off at half time, have a word with yourself. Give your head a little wobble. Put it a little bit right. Because at the end of the day, it's a friendly. Just remember that. And it's about match fitness. It's about getting a shape. It's about seeing some progress. It's about starting to put the team together. It's not about going out there, beating teams 5-6-0, playing Brazilian type football, because it ain't going to happen at this stage of the season. As Russell Martin said at the start before this game started, he talked about the fatigue on the boys after a couple of weeks of hard running, hard working. He talked about wanting to see, things that he wanted to see, getting the fitness, getting the shape, getting the form, getting the style, getting the way they want to play the game. And that, for me, is the key thing. Mark Dewey says, match fitness is important. Good train all day and all night, not match fitness wasting. Yeah, absolutely. And I once heard a professional footballer talk about this, and he said, Peaceful Warrior says, Specky Diddy, can he handle the FUD guys? I'm out. We are the people. And Peaceful Warrior, number one, you're not actually making any sense. And number two, you're obviously not even a Rangers fan. So get off. You're a Celtic fan. Quite clearly. Michael White says, evening Owen, good result today. Unsettled team coming back to draw with Belgium settled team. Yeah, absolutely. It's still a team in works. And I think you've got to remember, like I said, I think, Asgard starts. I think Rothwell starts. I don't know about Cameron. I think he gets a game. But I think, definitely Rothwell, definitely Asgard start. And, as Russell Martin said himself, this team will look very different in a week's time. I think there'll be more players across the threshold, and it's very, very exciting to see and hear that new players are going to be coming in this coming week, for definite. May says, Proper's wanted back by his former club in Holland. Do the deal, please. I think that's the sentiments of most Rangers fans, mate. Big Jock Wallace put Derek Johnson against Celtic 16-year-old final. Yeah, absolutely. Play. If you're good enough, you're old enough. And look, I would never ever say play a team of all youth players or majority youth players, but add him in. He's good enough. Honestly, he is good enough. He really is good enough. Yeah, absolutely good enough. Right, look, overall today, I think we've got to take it for what it was. It was a good preparation. And as Russell Martin said, we wouldn't have played as good a team if we hadn't got the Panathinaikos game coming up. We wouldn't have played as big of a test of a team if we didn't have the Panathinaikos game coming up. And that's what it was about today, in effect, is starting to prep for that Panathinaikos game, starting to play those, those good European teams. Look, Club Brugge, Bruges, whatever you want to call them, are not a brilliant European team. They're not a top European team, okay? They're not in the, the Madrids, the Dortmunds, the Leverkusens, the Bayern Munichs, the PSGs of this world. They're probably not even in the next level down, the Aston Villas, the Marseilles, the AC Milans, the Inter Milans. They're probably in that sort of middle band, So I do think that they are a good preparation. Yeah, Bruges are better quality than Panathinaikos. I would agree with that, Paul. They are. They probably would beat Panathinaikos. So it's a good prep for us. And it's a good start. And the fact we fought back to get a 2-2 as well, though, look, I think that's a bit of a test of the character as well that Russell Martin's, obviously starting to put into this team, because, again, it could have been a situation where we go 2-0 down at half-time. Yeah, you change the team at half-time to some degree, and then you make further changes in the second half. But we don't fight back. We lose 3-1. 2-1, something like that, and we all kind of walk off with, well, it's a pre-season game. But they fought back. They got the 2-2. Obviously Dio took his goal brilliantly. Finley took his goal brilliantly. You've got to talk about the confidence they must have gained. Absolutely. Christian says Bruges miles better than Panathinaikos, in my opinion. Adrian Duncan says, Owen, do we only have 2 pre-season games? Thought we usually do like 5. At the moment, I think we've only got Bruges and Middlesbrough, as far as I remember. Janet says, PSG, a bunch of youngsters running the show just now. If you're good, you play. Yeah, I mean, that young 19-year-old they've got, Desiree Doué, I mean, what a player he is. What a player he is. He looks absolutely outstanding, doesn't he? Didn't he score the other night against Bayern Munich as well? I mean, absolutely superb player. Absolutely superb player. Yeah, so just to sort of a heads up, we've got the next game we play is on the 22nd of July against Panathinaikos at home. We then play on the 26th against Middlesbrough at home, and then we are away on the 30th against Panathinaikos. So yeah, there is 2 games, 2 preseason games only, unless another one is added. Nicolas Stubborn says, Russell Martin seems like a no-nonsense manager, won't take any bullshit. I agree, mate. Apparently he went through them at half-time. Apparently he was not happy at half-time at all, and he let them know he wasn't happy. Maybe loads of players got game time, people watching them, players Rangers would want to let go, maybe, but some of them didn't do themselves any favours. Proper, Dowell and King, for example. Guys, did Celtic draw with Club Bruges in Europe last year? I think they lost. I don't know. Did they play them? Let's have a look. Let me find out. Celtic v Club Bruges. Let's have a little look. Did Celtic play Club Bruges? Anyone in the live chat? Was it not 1-1? I don't know. Celtic v Club Bruges. Yeah, it was 1-1. Yeah, Celtic drew 1-1 in a Champions League game with them on the 27th of November 2024. It was a 1-1 draw with them. So yeah, they did draw with them 1-1. So yeah, they did. Well done. Good spot, guys. Well remembered. Aston Villa beat them 3-0 and 3-1 in the Champions League. Just a bit of a side note there. Mainz gubbed Liverpool in the pre-season a few years back, so I think the sport need to calm down correctly. Dewey, I'm sure they beat the... Well, it was 1-1, mate. Isn't that mad? throw only 2 games for the real games. I mean, I suppose we've got the 2 Panathinaikos games, isn't it? That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah. Alan says, Panathinaikos, the litmus test, we must submit our squad next week. Yeah, and I think that's why we're going to see more players arrive before next week. But he's listening to what Russell Martin had to say post-match today. We aren't obsessed, so nobody knows Celtics results. Exactly, they'd know all of our results. They'd know everything, Guys, I've just got to say one thing, though, before I move on to talk about Hamza and Dessers. It's incredible, isn't it? I was looking over some Rangers posts online earlier, on X, on Facebook, on Instagram, and it's mad-ass. Do you know what's really funny? If you go and look at the comments on the Rangers articles, the first 10 comments, the majority of them will be from Celtic fans, okay, commenting on Rangers stories. They're obsessed. Absolutely bloody obsessed. Just crazy. Crazy, isn't it? The obsession is real. It really is. And like I say, if you want to know something about Rangers, ask a Celtic fan. Let's not have a knee-jerk reaction. It's only our first game, and that's a friendly. Very true. 7 days before, says Paul McCorrickles. That would make it the 15th of July. Who do you think will be in the team for the Champions League game? Ross, I don't know, because I think there'll be more players on the way in this next week, to be honest with you. So I don't know what it will be, but you've got to imagine that Asgard plays, Aarons plays, Rothwell plays, Cortez plays. I'd love to see Finley Curtis get a game. I thought he was excellent today, absolutely brilliant. Definitely get these players looked at, get the shit out the door, and then sorting out a decent team moving forward. Agreed. I think we do need to do that. Hamza coming back from international, and Dessers got an injured ankle. Right, so yeah, let's talk Hamza and Dessers. So first of all, the Hamza situation. So there's been all this rumour and counter rumour and so on and so forth. Now, apparently, according to Russell Martin is he's saying he's not aware of any bids from Lille. He's not aware of any, not that he's been told, or not that he knows, was his response, which I think is very clever, because I think if it then comes out that the board and that Kevin Thelwell have been talking to Lille, then Russell Martin doesn't look like an idiot, so he's got what they call plausible deniability, hasn't he? Plausible deniability. But Hamza apparently is coming back to the club next week. He is apparently been delayed by visa problems. Now, he arrived at the airport but couldn't get back in to the country because there was an issue with his visa. That issue has now been sorted, and he will be back next week. So Hamza will be back, obviously training. Will be down at St George's Park with Rangers. So, at the end of the day, that's good news. That's positive news for me that Hamza's back. I just hope that, if Hamza's back and he's not going to move anywhere, there's been all these stories, hasn't there? That he was in Paris, that he flew to Charles de Gaulle, that he'd gone out and had a medical, that he'd agreed personal terms with Lille. We can now see that that's just a whole load of bullshit. It's absolute load of media bullshit. The media have taken a story that Lille were interested in Hamza and just ran with it and ran with it and ran with it and ran with it and kept on going. And so, at the end of the day, you've got to look at it and say, it's bullshit, at the moment. There's no truth in it. Russell Martin said that. So Hamza coming back, I think is really good news. Now, I would love to see Hamza actually get, a chance to play as our number 9. I think he's got a lot to offer. I really do. He's quicker than Dessers. His positioning is better than Dessers. His control is better than Dessers. Technically, he's better than Dessers. I just think he would offer us so much in that number 9 position. And realistically, if you do want to play 2 up top, play Danilo and Hamza up top. Hamza and Dessers doesn't work because Dessers is not willing to drop back or drop out. But if you look at Danilo and Hamza, as Philippe Clement kind of stumbled upon and then didn't stick with inexplicably, that worked. And why did it work? Because there was an interchange of positions. Danilo would go into the 9, Hamza would come to the 10. Hamza would go left, Danilo would go middle. Danilo would go left, Hamza would go middle. So there was a fluidity there, and they seemed to link really well, and they seemed to play well together, whereas there was never that link play or that fluidity between Dessers and Hamza at all. So I think, maybe, there could be a partnership there if the Russell Martin ever looks to play 2 up top. But Hamza coming back is very positive news, is very good news for Rangers that he's back next week. So that's a real boost today for me. The other news, of course, was that there has been a bid for Cyril Dessers, but the bid was nowhere near what Rangers wanted for Cyril Dessers. Okay, that's what it was. Apparently, it was way south of what was expected or what the Rangers wanted. So at the moment, Dessers obviously remains a Rangers player. Now, apparently he hasn't been training because he has an injury, an ankle injury or some form of injury, right? So that's why he's not training. He will be back next week as well, unfortunately. I've got to say, guys, and you know my feelings on Cyril Dessers. Okay, I don't rate the guy. I don't think he's a good player. I think scoring only 18 goals in the SPL is embarrassing. You know, don't quote Morelos at me. You know, I've got to say, I'd had the shittest day at work ever. And I come home, and then I hear Cyril Dessers is coming back to the club. I tell you something, I could have cried. I genuinely could have sat at this desk and sobbed. Genuinely sobbed. That's how bad it was. I really could have cried. The news that Dessers is coming back, I mean, I really, like I said, I could have sobbed. Genuinely. Cried my heart out over it because it just depressed me. It really, really did depress me. But look, overall, you know, those two will be back next week. Obviously, he'll give us a few more options. But it's, as I've said, I honestly don't think Cyril Dessers fits with Russell Martin's system because he doesn't work the back four. He can't aggressively high press. He's not fast enough to do that. I don't think he's a player that fits with the... fits with Russell Martin's system. I really genuinely don't. So, you know, on the Hamza and Dessers thing, I think it's great news that Hamza's back. And, you know, Russell Martin has indicated that he wants to keep Hamza. You know, he said that Hamza's part of his plan. He's better than that donkey Danilo. Who is Gary? Dessers? He's not, mate. Trust me. Danilo, if he stays fit, is a lot better player than Dessers. Look at his goals to games ratio. Maybe Russell Martin can improve Cyril. He can't make him faster though, Blue Nose. That's the problem. He can't make him faster. I just want him gone because I find Rangers so hard to watch when Dessers plays. Really do find them hard to watch when he's in the team because he's just so bloody frustrating and he just falls over all the time. He's got the balance of a drunk toddler. He really has. But yeah, I mean, let's look at it this way. We've got a situation where having them back will be good. You know, at least it provides some competition. Like I said, the only downside is that the Dorturgeman move will be held up, obviously, because of the fact that they won't sell him. We won't buy, until we've sold a striker. So, you know, but it was interesting to find out today what's going on with the pair of them, what the truth of it is, or the truth that the club want us to know. You've got to remember that as well. You know, Russell Martin is going to be clever with what he says, you know. He's not realistically going to sit there and go, oh, yeah, there's been a big bid from Lille and this has happened and that. You know, he's not going to sit and say that, you know. So he's going to deny it and say nothing to do with him, you know. And what's really interesting, guys, if you watch, you know, put him up for a rollback price, Singing the Blues. I don't work for Asda, mate, Singing the Blues. I don't work for Asda. Not anymore. Left the job after 4 months because they were awful to work for. Don't work for them anymore. I don't work for them anymore, okay? You throw me there. Mark Dowie says, John Souttar doesn't fit into Russell Martin's sell 2 million English Championship. I don't know about... I like Souttar. I think Souttar's got a mistake in him, but I think we keep him for this season because I think, you know, if you're looking at the core of our centre-backs, if we go into the season with Souttar, Cody, Jigger and Fernandez, you've got 4 very good centre-backs there. You really have. You know, really have got 4 very good centre-backs there. Janet says, if Dessers won't fit into our system, why are we dragging our heels over transfer money? Because I suppose the club have got a value. They're not prepared to undersell. I think they're also, the new owners are putting in the situation where they don't want to, you know, be lowballed and look like they accept lowball offers, because I think if they start accepting lowball offers for one player, then the other clubs are going to come in and keep lowballing them. No problem singing. I did work for them, don't work for them anymore. Chris, aka Born for Battle 74, says Dessers is bench quality, keep him in the squad. The only issue I'd say with that, mate, is would you keep him as a squad player for 27 grand a week? Danilo looks like a waste of 6 million, says Blue Nose John. I think if he stays fit and gets minutes, I don't think he will, mate. Be good if Rangers sold Souttar for 2 million, bring in top defender for 6 million who's won leagues. Mark, give me a name. I'm happy if we keep our strikers. Maybe sell Dessers and Danilo. Looked bad but needs games. Danilo looked all right today, actually. I honestly thought he looked all right today. Some nice touches, had a couple of shots, looked lively. I don't think Danilo was that bad today. You know, I think he did all right today. I'm not saying he was brilliant. If you think Dessers is slow, John Suter is slower, plus caught on the wrong side of a player. Like I said, I'm not saying start him, Mark, but I'm saying as a squad player, I think he's enough to bolster the squad, and come in and play the odd game when we need him to. I mean, John Suter against St Mirren, John Suter against Livy, John Suter against Dundee is enough to beat them. Yeah, I'm not saying play Suter against, let's say we get to the Champions League and we get the likes of Juventus or the likes of Borussia Dortmund or Bayer Leverkusen. I'm not saying put Suter into those games, but I am saying use him against Livy, use him against St Mirren. He's probably good enough for that. And, you're going to want more. You're going to want a core of centre-halves. Most top clubs have 4 top centre-halves in their club. 4 centre-halves they feel confident with. And, realistically, you look at it, and none of those centre-halves today, whether it was Tav or because Tav's not a centre-half, or Proper or King, any of them look good today. They all look, 2 of them looked shite and Tav looked average. So there you go. So is Matondo injured or is a move possible? I'm hoping there's a move on that, Paul. That's why he's not playing or not featuring. Can we play Sheffield Wednesday friendly? Clubs in financial crisis, says Dado. I think a lot of that's around the owner, the Chancery. I think that would be a bit too political. Plus, you've got the involvement with Leeds. Again, I don't know. I can't see it happening. Need strikers to worry over the team's defences. Michael, I've got to say we do need a striker, 100%. Suter and Dessers are not comparable, Mark, in my opinion, says Christian. Heard Sheffield Wednesday having a fire sale on players. The lad Shay Charles will be a decent for us. He's a good footballer, Shay Charles. Very good footballer. It was a smaller team who got caught wrong side of play. Okay, maybe. But like I said, I think as a squad player, he's decent, mate. Like Danilo, but looks like another Lawrence that will consistently break down. Hope I'm wrong, says Janet. I hope you're wrong. I hope you're wrong too. I'd love to see Danilo succeed. I think he's a good player. I honestly do think he's a good player. We do need a clinical finisher badly, says William Holmes. We do, mate. And for me, you look at the priorities now going for this rest of this transfer window. We still need centre-backs. I think that's an absolute must. After watching Rangers defend today, we need centre-backs. We desperately need centre-backs. We've got Aarons to play right-back. We might get Beck to play left-back, maybe. I mean, if you look at the team today, it was Hieftes in both halves at left-back. I think Hieftes got a big future with the club. I think he's a player that Rangers think could be worth a $1 or $2 in the future. So that I think is positive. So, he's there. But I do think we need centre-backs. I still think, Connor Cody, David Edgar did say that he expects Nasser Jigger to come in next week. I think that will be a good sign. Now, if you think Manny Fernandez is a unit, look at this lad. He is a unit, a massive unit, is Jigger. So he would be another one that I think will come in and add some quality to this team. The other ones, obviously, that you've got out there, looking at this team, I think centre backs and obviously must. I think right winger. I still think we need a winger. I'd love to see Finlay Curtis be the man, but I still think we need to go and sign a winger because he's a kid, and you've got to be clever with how you use young players. You can't just keep playing them because there will become a time when their form starts to drop off, when they suffer a little bit of a crisis in confidence, and that's when you take them out. That's when you put your arm around them, you work with them, and that's when you put in the other winger that you've got. And that's why I think a winger is a priority. I think centre forward is still a priority. I don't think we've got a top 25 to 30 season goals a season man there yet. I think Hamza could be that, given a bit more time to develop. So I do think, we do need to go and sign a centre forward. Is that Dor Turgeman? Possibly. At the moment, nothing happening on that. It's still very much the case that Rangers need to sell a striker before they buy a striker. I think, I don't think that the club want 4 strikers on the books. I think they want to stick with 3. I think, when you only play 1 up top, you don't tend to have 4. You tend to have about 3. That's the maximum amount, because keeping them all happy is not an easy task. So I think, you're probably looking at 3. So I do think we need to sell 1 before we buy 1. Yeah, look, Ridvan, we don't know what's happening with Ridvan yet, Janet. There's obviously was talking of him going to Besiktas, back to Besiktas. Hasn't sort of surfaced. He was there in training the other day. I mean, Ridvan, to me, looks a decent footballer. I like Ridvan. I thought, I do think he's a good player. So, realistically, he, I think, could do a job for us. you know, if he stays, I really do. He looks a decent player. I mean, if you look at the other changes that obviously went on, Fernandez, McCausland, Ridvan, Gentles and Hutton all came on. It was nice to see Xander Hutton get on. Obviously, he's another young player. I liked him coming on. Josh Gentles, another young player. Good to see him get a run out. Ridvan obviously came on for Hjefte. You know, I think if Ridvan wants to stay, then if he can stay fit, Ridvan and Hjefte, I think, are a decent rotation at left back. They really are. Paul says, realistically, how much do you think we could get for fringe players we want out? I think possibly 10 million. Good question, mate. We'll get on to that in a minute. Jesrun Saki is the winger we're being linked with. That's the Palace winger, isn't it? Singing, yeah. That's the one. I have read that. If nobody buys Czerny, Wolfsburg, you think Rangers will offer 4 million? I think he's going to Turkey, mate, so I think that's definitely off. Sindra Walla Agali could be a good striking option. Never heard of him, Airwolf, but yeah, decent. I like his name. Decent name. I mean, if you look at who you probably want to leave, Paul, from our squad, you know, if you're talking just Deadwood now, if we're just talking Deadwood, okay, I mean, let's have a little look, shall we? Let's have a little look at the squad, and let's have a little look at what we think we could get for them. So let's take, for example, let's start with, and I'm not going to, look, as much as I would love to sell Tav, it ain't going to happen, unfortunately. I'd love to sell Tav, but it ain't going to happen. Proper, 1.5 million. Let's get a little ready reckoner going, shall we? So 1.5 million for 1.5 million for Proper, okay? Let's see, say also going out is Cifuentes. Let's say 1.5 million for Cifuentes, getting our money back on him. Rabbi Matondo, 1.5 million as well. I think that's probably realistic. And Ciala, I think if we sell Ciala, we can get 2.5 million for him. Kieran Dowell, 1 million. I think is realistic for Kieran Dowell, about £1 million. Douge, no. Ben Davis, 2 million for Ben Davis, I think is a realistic price. I have seen him quoted at 2.5, but I think 2 million is probably more realistic. Ridvan, I've seen quoted at 3 million to Besiktas. Let's say Ridvan goes for 3 million. Leon King, I think 500,000. I think it is realistic. £500,000 for Leon King. I think it's probably about realistic on that one. McCausland, about 1 million. I think is a realistic price for McCausland. And that's it. So let's have a little look. What would that reckon up to? 1 million, 2 million, 2.5. So 2.5, 3.5, 6.5, 8.5, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14.5 million, I reckon. 14.5 million, Paul, I reckon. If we sold 8-9 players, we can get about 14 million, let's say 12 to 15 million for those players, realistically. I think is decent. Besiktas offer 2 million for Ridvan, worth 4 million tops, says Mark. Scandinavian 19-year-old striker. There we go. Airwolf, that's the name he was quoting. Vardy would be a good signing, says Stephen Clegg. Crystal Palace guy, people said he's valued at 10 mil. If he's at 10 mil, we ain't buying him. I can tell you that one. Mays, we need players who are fully committed to what we're trying to achieve. And we are going to get players, Mays, who are fully committed to what we're trying to achieve. Because Russell Martin said as much, mate. He said, you know, that any player that comes in and says he's got other options ain't coming. Tav is the captain, but don't you think if a player is picked to be captain for that game, they should be kept for captain for that game, even if Tav comes on for the rest of the game? I agree. I think it's a disgrace when he comes on and takes the armband off people. I agree. Mark says Proper 1.5 million, Ridvan 4 million, Matondo 2, Dowell 0.5 million, Ben Davis 2.5, McCausland 1 million. I'd settle for those amounts, mate. Michael White says Martin is probably assessing the players that we've got before he takes any action. Possible, but he is bringing players in. Yeah, I think, you know, like I said, about 12 to 15 million is realistic for the Deadwood if we can get rid of it all. You know, realistically, we'll get 1 million. It's Deadwood, says Alan Austin. Mate, if we only get 1 million for them, for like 8-9 players, something has gone very badly wrong with the club and selling players. So for me, 12 to 15 million is realistic. Add that into transfer budget. You've got a nice little lump sum there you can go off and spend on new players. And, you know, Russell Martin said there will be new players coming in, and we can only speculate as to who those new players will be, whether it's this Palace winger, whether it's Patati, whether it's Turgeman, whether it's Cody, whether it's Vardy. You know, these are all the active links that are out there. And, you know, as we've seen with Rothwell and Fernandez, they both kind of came a bit out of left field, didn't they? They both a bit like, shit, we've signed Rothwell. Who the hell is it? Well, wow, he's a good player, he is. So, I think there's a couple of names, as Russell Martin said, he's been asked about a lot of players, and he says some of them are completely wrong and some of them are on the money. So, I think Rangers have got a list of targets, and I think there's targets on that list that we are not aware of. Targets that we haven't even thought of yet that could come in still. And I think, that is a possible one. Got impression Russell Martin wanted Proper and King to prove him right. Possible. The captain that starts a game should be the captain that finishes the game. Agreed if he stays on the pitch. Shame, ex-Aberdeen striker, value 3 million, but his wages is big. He would be a good squad player. Are you talking about Miovski there, Mark? Hi, Rangers family. Hi, Sean. How you doing, buddy? I'm changing my name to Scandinavian Wolf. Lol. Airwolf, you could become Rangers Scandinavian Scout, mate. Why don't you write to them? What's the changes of Che Adams? I don't think there's any chance of Che Adams coming to Rangers, Mark. I don't think that's a realistic one, to be honest with you. I don't think that's going to happen, to be honest with you. Yeah, there you go. Airwolf. Guys, breaking news. Airwolf has just been... No, Janet. Has just been appointed as the new Scandinavian Scout for Rangers Football Club. Congratulations, Airwolf, on your appointment to the Scandinavian Scouts job. You could probably do a really good job, mate. You could probably do a really good job going forward. But look, I still think I honestly think there are players out there that we will sign that we're not aware of yet, that we don't know are coming. I think there are some that we are aware of. For instance, Connor Cody, for example. But I do think we'll get some players out of left field. I do think there are some players that we've not even heard of yet that may well arrive within the next week to 10 days. Liam Kelly, good, not good enough for Rangers. Might be my number. Yeah, he is a number 2. That's what he is. Yeah, he is a number 2. Ross, near, I am joking, mate. But look, I think, we take today for what it was. It was a good workout, and it was a competitive workout. It was playing against a good team. We got a draw, a creditable draw. We fought back. We did well. And we got a draw against a good team. And there were some good performances and people got minutes. And I think that's the way we look at this. Like I said, if you're one of these fans that's saying that it was a disgrace, it was shit, it was awful, the first half was dreadful, Russell Martin's is awful. Seriously, give your head a little wobble. Have a little word with yourself. Calm yourself down a little bit, because it's a pre-season friendly, guys. And I think today it was a good workout, good players. Finley Curtis is the biggest positive out of today. I think Finley Curtis is massive. And as I said to you earlier in the pod, I think you're going to see the likes of Rothwell, Asgard come in and play and get a game. Jigger, I think, as well. He will come in. So for me, they're the players that I think, can still come in and still improve this team. And I think we're going to see over the next few days at St George's Park with this camp, as Russell Martin said, them coming in, them playing, them being, bonding more, being part of the squad more. I mean, Rothwell and Asgard. I mean, Asgard hasn't even trained with the players yet. So, I mean, that's obviously was no chance of him playing today. So, we're going to see him start to bed in. No, you were kidding. Good. I think it's great. Airwolf, mate, you'll make a great scout. It's like that. What was it? That Von Monghurst joke that went around on TikTok for ages, wasn't it? I did contact Rangers on players I seen in Switzerland when I was working, says Dado. Did you get anything back on that, mate? Maccabi winger with Turgeman will be great, says Paul. Paul, they have said they won't sell both players. They'll only sell one or the other one. They don't want to lose both. So I think if we want Turgeman, we've got to get in a little bit quick there, because there's players interested in Patati for definite. Loads of managers down south rate Russell Martin. They do. Absolutely. There's been a lot of managers that have spoken positively of him that are managing England. So we've got to take that as a positive, haven't we, going forward? It's not going to be a quick fix. Things take. I agree. Would James Vardy be free? He's free, yeah. Vardy's a free agent at the moment. So, yeah, it would be free for Vardy. If we get him, it's just his wages and signing on that you'd have to pay on Vardy if he comes in. I don't know whether that'll happen. Russell Martin was... I don't know whether you guys caught this, but Russell Martin didn't deny it, didn't confirm it, but didn't deny it today, didn't he? He says, I'm not answering that one. They already have another striker. They about a week ago for 1.5 million. Who's that? Rangers, Paul. Rangers. But I do think there'll be a striker in before the window closes. Don't get me wrong, but I do think one needs to go out From being honest with you. But look, guys, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. Look, we've got lots of positives. It's been a good week. It's been a good week for Rangers. It has been a good week for Rangers. We've got 3 good. The transfer market started moving. We've got 5 names in now. We've got Aarons, we've got Fernandez, we've got Rothwell, we've got Cameron, and we've got Asgard. That's a great start. That is a great start. Maccabi. All right, there we go. I didn't know they had that. Will Butland start in goal? Or Kelly says, Mark, I think Butland will start in goal, if I'm being honest with you. I think given what Russell Martin said about giving Butland his chance, I think he will start. I think getting that goal for Rangers will spur Curtis on. Mays, I think it will. Hopefully it does, and hopefully he continues to get opportunities because he looks a very talented footballer. I like him. I really like the lad. He looks a very, very good footballer, and I do hope that he gets more opportunities going forward. It was his first at Ibrox. Yeah, absolutely. And what an occasion. I mean, I know it's just a friendly, but still, to score at Ibrox as a Rangers fan, as someone who's come through the youth academy, that's got to be special. It really does have to be special. 100%. Right, guys, that is it for tonight. Thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. What about Rice? Hopefully Rice gets some more games. Yeah, Airwolf. If you've enjoyed the pod tonight, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Remember, all the content is free here on Glasgow Rangers Nation. We don't hide stuff behind paywalls. If you do want to support the channel, membership's 99p, or you can super chat or super sticker us here on the live chats. But yeah, I hadn't heard of any of these players we've signed, but I do live in Germany, says Blue Nose. Blue Nose, I've got to admit, the ones I'd heard of, out of the 5, I'd heard of Aarons, I'd heard of Rothwell, because I watch Championship football, so I'd heard of Rothwell, and my dad's a Leeds fan. I hadn't heard of Asgard, I'd heard of Lyle Cameron, obviously. I hadn't heard of Fernandez. So yeah, there's the ones I hadn't heard of, mate. Some of the Championship players, like I said, once the name Asgard came up, I kind of remembered him playing for Luton, but not a lot. Okay, guys, thank you for watching. It's been a pleasure speaking to you, as always, here on the channel. Please, obviously, like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you haven't done so already, please smash that sub. Help the channel to keep on growing as we aim to try to get to 8,000 subscribers before the new season gets underway. We're about 7.6 now, I think it is 7.64 now, which is fantastic. As always, guys, it's been a pleasure. Absolute pleasure speaking to you. Love talking to you. Love the conversation. Love having the chat with you. Love your comments. It's what makes them. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you tomorrow.